And so let's advance to the next screen, Brent. We here at the National Community Action Partnership are just thrilled to be partnering with a whole host of folks that provide support both programmatically and fiscally. The Department of Energy is one of those main and steadfast supporters. The description and the disclaimer below is something that we required to put on each of our webinars, and I will not read that to you directly, but be it known that we are just most grateful to through the Department of Energy and our partners that we have throughout the network. Brent, next slide. Today is one of the days within the month of May that is Community Action Month, and we're excited to have this be Impact Wednesday on the 21st day of this month. If you have not accessed the toolkit for Community Action Month and you would like to do so, just click on that QR code and it will take you to download that toolkit for Community Action Month. It's full of activities, ideas to help you celebrate that, and specific pieces within the weatherization space. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Brent Kossick with the Service Year Alliance, the Director of Climate and Workforce, and sit back, enjoy, and focus in on what's going to be a great webinar. Brent?
Well, thanks, Chris, and thanks for the opportunity. So yeah, that's me there on the screen, Brent Kossick, Director of Climate and Workforce at Service Year Alliance. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the work that our organization does here in a second. But quickly, a little bit about my background is I've really been involved in like the national service and service space now for about 15 years. I'll be defining that further, but as an AmeriCorps member, I actually worked on projects advancing energy efficiency and some weatherization. So I'll be kind of pulling that in today's presentation. But really for the last, I guess about 3.5 years now, my job has really been to think about how we can better align young adults serving in these service year programs across the country with the needs of clean energy, energy efficiency, weatherization employers, and to draw those connections so that we have a powerful workforce moving into the field. I'm also really excited that I'm joined by a few guest speakers today. So we have Ellery Gessler, who is the Weatherization Workforce Development Administrator at the Kentucky Housing Corporation. So for those of you all who are not aware, Kentucky Housing Corporation is the Weatherization Assistance Program state grantee for Kentucky. So I'm going to have her introduce herself a little bit later on, but she'll be able to help paint the picture of how it can look to really look towards service year programs as a talent pipeline for your agency. We also have Pagan Pajone with us. I'm sure a lot of folks are familiar with Pagan's work, but she's the Senior Director of Strategic Workforce Engagement at the Interstate Renewable Energy Council. Pagan advances all kinds of great work, specifically around the greenworkforceconnect.org platform. So she'll be walking us through kind of what that platform is all about and a brand new feature that actually launched today that's going to make your all's life easier to connect to some of these service programs as either talent pipelines or capacity building tools. So again, she'll be able to further introduce herself a little bit later on in the presentation. So just quickly, I wanted to just kind of share our agenda for our time together today. So first of all, again, I'm going to take a few minutes to really define what I mean by service year or service year program and paint a picture of what that overall service year ecosystem looks throughout the country and in your local communities. Next up, I'm going to be taking some time to really work through a new toolkit that's going to be available to you, the WAP agencies and energy efficiency employers, to help you all think through about how you could build these workforce relationship with service year programs across the country. And then also there's tools and resources that can make that your lives easier in doing so as well. Then again, I'll pass it over to some of our guest speakers. We'll hear kind of bringing it all into a real world example of kind of what it can look like with exploring these type of partnerships. And then again, looking at that new tool at greenworkforceconnect.org. We should have plenty of time for Q&A at the end of today's session. But as questions come up, feel free to put it in the chat, and Keisha will be monitoring those so that I make sure that we can address those at the end of the meeting as well. But yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing I wanted to share is, again, kind of that, elevator pitch, low-level definition of what I mean by a service year. And at its very basics, the way that we define a service year is, one, it's a paid opportunity; two, to develop real-world skills; and then three, an opportunity to address pressing community needs. So again, I'm going to be telling you more about the programs that fall under that definition, but those are the three criteria that we look at to defining what a service year is all about. And so in general, we think of service year as kind of having a triple bottom line win. So we have a win for the program participants, who we call core members, and you'll hear me use the term core members throughout today's presentation, because they're the ones that are doing those hands-on service activities, getting certifications and trainings that make them more marketable in a variety of different career sets. As part of their service year experience, they also are generally involved in like networking with potential future employers as well. There's a win to the community because these core members are serving a identified community need. So again, that can be advancing more weatherization or energy efficiency projects, or increasing capacity in a local school through tutoring or mentoring, or even working in a hospital to provide additional care to community members who use those services. So they could be doing all kinds of great things for communities, and chances are there's a core member probably serving pretty close to where you're at today. Finally, we have the win as a nation as a whole. So again, we think of service as a workforce development tool that's not only equipping these young people for the workforce, but also it's leveling up to these greater level impact to, say, our education system, to our clean energy system, to our health system, and hopefully making impact on a national or even global scale. So this slide is just a little bit about our organization, Service Year Alliance. So we are a national nonprofit, and our core mission is to ensure that these service year opportunities are a common opportunity and expectation for all young adults. We kind of advance that work to three main pillars that you see on the screen in front of you. The first one is what we call our empower work. And really what that is all about is a lot of that public policy work, making sure that local, state, and federal funding is there to support these service year programs, and that funding is sustained and hopefully grows over time. We also bring in work to bring philanthropy into the space as well. Our innovate work, which is where I spend most of my time, the way that I think about this is bringing stakeholders together to either look at common opportunities or challenges. And when I look at, say, stakeholders, that's both within this service year ecosystem and beyond. So for example, a lot of times how we function is as a nonprofit partner with some of these local organizations or federal agencies to really bring these stakeholders together to test what can be potentially replicated and expanded on a national level. So for example, we've done projects around COVID-19 response. We've done projects about disconnected youth. And again, I'll be telling you a lot more about our recent work in kind of the clean energy and green sector space over the course of the last 3 years. Finally, we are also the home for AmeriCorps alums. So our organization does a lot of work to make sure that alums of these programs continue to feel supported and highlighted after their term of service. We do things that post job opportunities, professional development. We even do competitions and put prize money out to the field for sharing their story and things like that. So that's our organization in a nutshell. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and start painting that picture of what that service year ecosystem entails and looks like. So first of all, a major program that falls under this service year definition is AmeriCorps. That's our largest, I guess, branch of service. So this is a federal program that's administered at a local level. So you have federal dollars that are typically matched by either public or private dollars at the local level to stand up these programs where core members will serve with organizations that include nonprofits, local government, state government, higher education, school districts, all kinds of good stuff. The program is made up of three different, I guess, sub-programs, and that's AmeriCorps Vista, NCCC, and state and national. They all kind of have their different niches. But I guess, I don't think I'll go into the specifics during today's presentation. But one thing that I do want to note is that oftentimes, maybe if you're not familiar with AmeriCorps, you might be familiar with an organization that leverages AmeriCorps members or has an AmeriCorps grant. So if you've ever interacted with, say, like a Habitat for Humanity or City Year or Boys and Girls Club, there's a pretty good chance that those organizations are leveraging AmeriCorps through a few different resources, oftentimes through infusing like staff capacity into their organization. So whether or not you realize it or not, you've probably interacted with like an AmeriCorps program at some point throughout your life or career. There's also AmeriCorps Seniors as part of the ecosystem. Again, it has three subcomponents. Again, very much part of the ecosystem. Our organization, Service Year Alliance, tends to focus more on young adult population. So we do less direct engagement with AmeriCorps Seniors, but obviously part of the family. Hopefully, some of you all have heard of Youth Build before. So this is a DOL funded program that really helps folks, young adults, achieve their GED while also training them into different career sets, oftentimes being in construction, but they also run programs in retail, food service, all kinds of things to help equip these young people to move into the workforce. I'm sure a lot of folks have heard of Peace Corps, very similar to what I described with AmeriCorps, but again, individuals are serving around the world in countries usually for 2 or sometimes up to 3 years, helping these local communities advance projects that help meet their community needs. So again, Peace Corps being part of this broader ecosystem. And then finally, we kind of like summarize everything else into like an independent programs. And what I mean by that is we do have some states that fund core programs throughout their state. So they have some like in California and Maryland. They all fall part of kind of our privy of supporting these programs across the country. We also have some programs that are advanced through like faith-based organizations doing things like disaster response work and other things. So now that you have a general sense of kind of the ecosystem as it has existed for the last 20 years or so, I do want to talk a little bit about some recent changes that have occurred and kind of how it currently looks in today's kind of status, I guess. So unfortunately, about a month ago, the Department of Government Efficiency visited the AmeriCorps agency and has been working with them to identify some efficiencies. Some unfortunate things that have happened because of that is they have decided to demobilize that NCCC branch. So that is currently not a program that we are leaning into, but hopefully there's continued chance in the future. We've also seen about $400 million in the AmeriCorps grants that go out to local and state partners have also been eliminated. So what that has meant is that that we have recently lost about 33,000 AmeriCorps members across the country. So I'll be talking about like what is currently functioning, but bottom line is the AmeriCorps agency is still in operation, and really the goal now is to continue to preserve these programs and rebuild through the normal budget making process. So we're hoping that, going into the future that we continue to like bring back some of these positions that were lost over the last month or so. Another thing that happened pretty early on with some of the executive orders that came out around climate action is that we did have the American Climate Corps come into existence back in, I believe, 2023. And really what that was doing is a common branding and a mechanism for growth within our ecosystem, specifically kind of in that clean energy, advanced energy space. So unfortunately, that program has been eliminated, but not necessarily all the individual programs that were falling under that banner. And so again, non-existent right now, but hopefully maybe can be revived some point in the future. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about the service year ecosystem, specifically how it relates to kind of the work that you all are advancing in the weatherization space. So again, these programs exist all throughout the country, and those terms of service can look really different depending on what we call like the program sponsor and what they are advancing. So these young people can be serving anywhere from a few months with a service year program to up to a year. And they'll be doing all kinds of different things. Everything from, again, we have programs doing weatherization, energy efficiency work. We have some programs that equip their core members to lead into the solar space. We have a large number of programs which we call conservation corps, which are doing kind of the work on land management projects. But all of these programs that fall under kind of this align with modern energy kind of approach, we feel really strongly aligned with the skill sets that you all as weatherization and energy efficiency employers are looking for. And so I'm going to paint what those skill sets are here in a second. But what we've traditionally seen is about over 20,000 young people have on an annual basis serve in these kind of well-aligned programs for your industry. Since these efficiency measures were recently taken, we don't know exactly what the count is that are existing today, but I would guess that that's around 10 to 15,000 still exist around the country. So again, less than I think it was at the 23,000 mark. So less than what we saw a month ago, but still a lot of opportunities for you to recruit around the country. So yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about that alignment that we have observed with kind of the hiring needs of clean energy, energy efficiency, weatherization. So again, back about 3.5 years ago, we started advancing a project to really intentionally look at, is there ways that we can further connect service as a talent pipeline into these industries? And as part of that work, we produced a few published documents if anybody's interested that's linked in here. But it talks about where there's opportunity to further grow programming. Conveniently, one of the three that we featured was actually energy efficiency, obviously very tied into weatherization, where we think that we have, again, program examples across the country, but we actually think there's a lot of opportunity for further replicating those in more communities across the country. So just in case anybody's interested, we have that resource plug there. But as part of this work, we also embarked on some joint research with Jobs for the Future, Next 100, to also examine how pre-apprenticeship programming was looking in the service space. So as part of all this body of work, we were working with interviewing industry partners, employers, other nonprofits and organizations kind of in that clean energy or energy efficiency space. And what we started to identify is key, what we call employability skills that are commonly cultivated in service, with what we were hearing from those industry partners is saying those are high need areas for new talent that they're looking for, and then also aligning some training and certifications. So that's what you see here on the screen now. So some of those key employability skills that seem like there was a lot of crossover are things like, these core members are learning and then also demonstrating communication skills, oftentimes working in a small team. Again, a lot of times it's really nice for an employer to be able to get references from these programs on overall work etiquette and ethic. These core members oftentimes are trained and have experience with compassionate community engagement and customer service. So the type of folks that you all are probably looking to hire that are able to work with members of the public or homeowners that might be interested or receiving weatherization services. Again, teamwork and collaboration, things like problem solving. Especially these core members that are serving in, say, like those conservation corps or existing energy efficiency programs. Oftentimes they have experience working out in inclement weather, say like in the Texas heat or the snow up in Boston. And so again, they're really those folks that are the type that are willing to get dirty, hands-on type of approach, and like the folks that would be open to going in a 120-degree attic and crawling through basements, things like that. Also, things that they oftentimes have experience with is like tool use and safety. A lot of these corps actually require these teams to travel throughout a state or a region, so they are also willing to travel and relocate for work. But then also, oftentimes these core members are involved with data entry and supply and logistics operations as well, which is very applicable to a lot of work that you all are doing as far as like reporting to your state and federal grants, or just making sure that a project site has all the equipment and supplies they need in order to provide the weatherization services, things like that. Now, this next column, trainings and certifications, these are, each program is different. So not every program will offer all of these or even one of these, but these are the certifications that do show up in these service year programs that seem to jive well with clean energy weatherization. So things like OSHA 10 and 30 is oftentimes observed in these programs. Some go through the multi-craft core curriculum, which is a pre-apprenticeship program for the trades. We are actually working with programs now to embed building science principles, so kind of that stackable BPI credential that helps people get kind of entry level into weatherization, energy efficiency, green construction, things like that. But also things like LEED certifications, herbicide applicator, NABCEP certifications, so like solar, and things like drivers trainings are all seem to be very applicable. So once we kind of found where those alignments led, that's when we really started to lean into creating these workforce pathways for these service year programs. And we were fortunate to be able to join multiple workforce development initiatives. So the first one, or one of them, was the ACE network, which is funded by the U.S. Department of Labor, which their Office of Apprenticeship. So it's all about this great network of industry partners, higher education, workforce development, working together to help employers across the country stand up new apprenticeship programs in that kind of clean energy and energy efficiency space. And so specifically, Service Year Alliance's role as part of this network is to, again, help connect those talent to those new and emerging apprenticeship programs, and also in some cases work at the local level to build like those pre-apprenticeship pathways through service. Working with Pagan, we also are a member of the Weatherization Assistance Program Enhancement and Innovation Project. Again, a very similar role, really looking in partnership with IREC about how we can further elevate service as a qualified talent pipeline for weatherization, and exactly kind of what we're doing today. I also wanted to mention that funded through philanthropy, we are part of what we call the Weatherization Workforce Accelerator Exploratory Project. And what this is all about is there are some service year programs that serve as weatherization contractors. And we know there's a high need to bring more contractors into the space. And so this project is exploring whether or not there are communities throughout the country where we can kind of pair service year programming with the WAP local agency to get them up to a speed where they can serve as like weatherization contractors for you all. So this is kind of stalling a little bit because of all those recent impacts that I described. But if anybody's interested in learning more about this and whether or not there might be opportunity in your community, feel free to email me, and I'll be kind of sharing my email throughout today's presentation. Quickly, a few other things that we do is also we've released some market research about how young adults are thinking about various green sector careers, and then also like, what is of interest to them, where they need to find out more information, what do they feel like they need in order to like pursue those career paths, how are they thinking about apprenticeship, all that kind of stuff. And so I've linked so where you can find some of that market research that we've published with a firm called Data for Progress, where again, that's just another tool that you all can use to think about how you can be more attractive to young adults as far as like maybe your entry level hiring paths and position descriptions and position postings, things like that. And then finally, again, through philanthropy, we also are working one-on-one with employers and industry partners to explore how service can be better connected to a variety of different industries, everything from like solar supply and supply chains to local government, to federal government, to solar energy as a whole. So looking at a lot of and learning a lot of great resources as part of that work as well. Okay, so now hopefully you all have a sense of kind of what a service year experience is all about, what the ecosystem is made up of, and maybe why you all should be thinking about potential ways to partner with Service as a talent pipeline in your community or state. So next up, what I'm going to share is this new toolkit that's going to make your lives easier in order to explore these different ways if you wanted to think of Service as a partner in either that talent space or even to infuse additional capacity into your organization if you've always wished you had more staff type of thing. So we worked in partnership with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory to put together the Growing the Weatherization Workforce Through Service Year Partnerships Toolkit. So this was formerly published on NREL's website. Unfortunately, it was recently taken down for Department of Energy needed to review it with their new procedures. So it's not currently up, but hopefully it'll relaunch here pretty soon. We've been working with them on edits. But until then, I am able to share like some basically like Service Year Alliance Word documents that have the same content in it. So after today's presentation, again, I'll share my email where if you all want any of this information I'm about to cover in advance of this being republished, I can send that in a Word document type of you through Service Year Alliance. But so yeah, let's quickly talk about the content that's in this new toolkit. And basically what it entails is that we've identified 4 key ways that weatherization agencies and grantees can really consider partnering with Service Year in that talent or capacity building space. And so really what the toolkit does is really leads you through each one of these topic areas and then provides you tools and resources that will make your life easier if you wanted to pursue any of these things. So I'm going to give you a high level overview of each of these 4, and then we'll also link out some existing tools that you can use. So the first way that you all can think about partnering with service years in your area, or basically as establishing a talent pipeline. So again, we already know there's a general alignment between those skills and trainings and certifications that our core members are gaining with a lot of maybe the entry level work paths that you all or positions that you all are looking to employ. So what this toolkit does is really outline all the different ways that you can think about forming that talent relationship with a service year program in your area. So it can be everything from, doing lunch and learns with these core members and the programs they serve, to doing job shadowing type of stuff, to even like inviting them to your training facilities and providing more in-depth kind of like growth overviews about why they should be looking at weatherization and the WAP program as potential career paths. So there's a lot of different ways that you can partner with Service to create these talent pipelines. And again, one of the great things about this is that it allows you to also build that relationship with the program staff who can refer you to like high performing members that maybe have strong interest in the type of careers that you are recruiting for. And so some tools and resources that are part of this is there's also a contact form that lists all the programs throughout the country who we've identified that has aligned skills with the Weatherization Assistance Program. Bottom line, that needs to be updated now with the recent efficiency cuts that I mentioned, but that's to give you a good sense of what programs might be in your area. And then that tool that Pagan's going to highlight here in a second will make it much easier while we'll actually be able to provide some one-on-one assistance to help you identify if you want to like start any of these conversations in your area. The next way that you can think about partnering is by increasing agency capacity by hosting one or more service year members. So oftentimes service year programs can place, 1 to a handful of core members with different agencies to serve, again, for anywhere for a few months to a year. So as community action agencies, nonprofits, local government agencies, you all would all qualify for hosting an AmeriCorps member. And so what we've seen examples of is you might partner with a program to have a member come on for a variety of different ways that might add capacity to like what your staff is currently doing. So we've seen programs or core members be used for things like client outreach and support, or even like application assistance and navigation to community members for completing like WAP intake forms or collecting the required documentation. So kind of working with your staff as a added capacity in that way. We've seen core members used to help workforce development as a whole. So like if you're a WAP grantee at like the state level, we have examples like say in Maine where core members were helping to connect community members to careers in weatherization and hosting things like career fairs, providing community resources, marketing, things like that. Core members are oftentimes used for stakeholder coordination, so working with other partners within your local community that your agency commonly work with to advance projects. They can add capacity to that space. Anything that you really wish that your agency might have be able to like tackle, but you just don't have the staff bandwidth. That's exactly what AmeriCorps members or service year members are meant to do. So adding that bandwidth to take on new projects or enhancements. And then again, like we have core members that have been engaged in direct weatherization assistance. So oftentimes what that looks like is them being trained to knock out those like lower skill projects, like things like basic insulation or weatherization, energy efficiency light bulbs, things like that. Or they can assist with like a, trained certified technician in advancing some of those higher level projects and, being there to add additional hands and support to those type of projects. So bringing some pressure off of your technicians is another way that they can be used. A great thing about thinking about this partnership option is really what it does is it allows you to have like an extended interview process with a young person. So that way you can make sure that they are right fit for maybe your agency as a full-time staff in the future. And then at the same time, they're able to look at your agency and the weatherization careers and make sure that that's a career path that they would like to pursue. So that's another bonus of kind of looking at this kind of host site opportunity. So again, the toolkit will walk you through all these different options and walk you through how you would actually like partner with a service year program to request core members. One thing to know is oftentimes there is a cost share requirement. So it's still much cheaper than usually bringing on like a staff person, but there's oftentimes it just depends on the program, but it will be in the thousands of dollars to usually bring on a core member. So the third way is we actually have weatherization and energy efficiency organizations sponsor entire teams of core members to help expedite projects. So I oftentimes think about this as kind of like kind of blitz projects where you will have a team of anywhere from like 6 to 12 core members come in to help you like knock out like low-hanging fruit that might be causing your agency to not be able to advance. So again, some of those like lower level weatherization services, community education and outreach, things like that, where you can have these young people with you for a number of weeks that can help you like either coordinate events or coordinate projects or implement projects that again will help your agency guys stay on your production schedule throughout the year type of thing. They are with that NCCC branch that is currently not operating, that you can actually request these teams for free. They'll come in for free as long as you are able to identify where they can stay and have housing options and things like that. But there are existing opportunities for fees for service opportunities where you would actually contract with one of these local service programs to host those core members for however many weeks you would want to bring them on. So finally, number 4 is as a nonprofit, local government agency, or even state agency, you are eligible to apply to actually manage your own service year program and receive an AmeriCorps grant. So there's also resources in this toolkit that can help guide you through that process of requesting either core members or a grant through AmeriCorps State and National, AmeriCorps Vista, or even Youth Build. But there's also this website that is hosted through our organization also provides you with plug and play tools that will make your life much easier if you want to pursue some of these things. So things like if you wanted to request one of those NCCC teams, once the program's up and running again, we've already filled out an application for you, and you just have to plug in like things about your organization, like your address, your name, specifics about what you want them to engage in. But instead of taking you 3 hours to complete an application, it should only take you potentially a few minutes. So we've put that together for you. We've also put together templates for actually submitting full grant applications as well. And we have one for a WAP grantee and one for WAP subgrantees. So again, this pursuing a full grant is still the highest lift option of those four that I went through. But still something that you also be aware of if it's ever something that you wanted to pursue, because these things can make your life much easier. But okay, you all have heard me talk far too much. And so what I'm going to do now is, now that you have a sense of the four different ways that you can partner with a service year program or consider partnering with these programs, I'm going to pass it over to Ellery, who I was actually able to work with one-on-one as part of that NREL project to help Kentucky Housing Corporation work through some of these options that might be worth pursuing for their organization. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Ellery so she can give you kind of that real world example.
All right, thank you. And just to warn y'all, I have a little cold, so if I sound like a frog, just ignore it, okay? So I am Ellery Gessler. I'm the Weatherization Workforce Development Administrator for Kentucky Housing Corporation. I don't have half of the experience of anyone on this panel. I have been in this position since October of last year, and my entire educational past is in political science. So I am completely new to clean energy and workforce development. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. A little bit about Kentucky Housing Corporation is we are a quasi-government agency that is administratively attached to the Kentucky Finance and Administrative Cabinet. We were created by the 1972 General Assembly, and we are a self-supporting public corporation of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Our mission is to invest in quality housing solutions for families and communities across Kentucky, as well as offer programs and services designed to develop, preserve, and sustain housing throughout the state. We work with many partners across the Commonwealth to invest in and create affordable housing opportunities for all Kentuckians. So my department, the Weatherization Department, KHC, as Brent said, is the state grantee for the WAP funding through the Department of Energy. We also receive funding through the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services, Low Income Heating Energy Assistance Program, also known as LIHEAP. KHC administers federal and state funds to our 20 subgrantees that are primarily community action agencies across the state. And we do that in order for them to administer their weatherization services to their communities. So, like many others in the weatherization field, Kentucky is struggling to develop a quality workforce to perform WAP services in order to meet the needs of our communities that we serve. So because the need was so great, KHC created an entirely new position, my position, the Workforce Development Administrator for Weatherization, in order to give more attention to our subgrantees that are struggling to find contractors, and we're struggling to build talent pipelines and overall just listen and try to rectify and mitigate other issues that come along with a struggling workforce. So shortly after I started at KHC last October, we decided to take advantage of that free opportunity through NREL to work with Brent and explore different ways that KHC may be able to tap into service year talent pipelines, because again, I was a total newbie, knew nothing. You can ask Brent, I knew nothing. So that was really great. And over the course of several weeks, Brent and I worked together to explore each of the different service year partnership opportunities that he talked about previously. And we explored lots of options. We spoke to youth build groups, and we're currently trying to get a visit with a youth build group in the state to our training facility to just kind of expose them to different weatherization careers. We looked into internships, apprenticeships, explored different options with core members and Vista workers. And after lots of discussions and weighing of different options, we decided that a single placement Energy's Community Vista worker was the best option for KHC to pursue. And the idea was that this person was basically going to be an administrative worker that can work more closely with the subgrantees that really needed the extra help with client outreach and support, with application generation, with application intake, all of that good stuff. We do have a few subgrantees that require a lot more attention than our other ones, and that was just something that KHC did not have the capacity for at the time. So long story short, we wrote up an application. Brent said they had it for us. I had to plug everything in. They made it super, super easy. I had it approved by everyone in my office. And then, as we all know, there was several events that took place at the federal level, and everything in our universe kind of shifted, as I'm sure everyone here can relate to. And so in our team specifically, we've had lots of turnover. We're a much smaller team now than when I started in this position. So I'm now taking on roles and responsibilities that are outside workforce development, just out of necessity. And, you just got to do what you got to do sometimes. So because of all this uncertainty, it was determined by those above me that we cannot continue to pursue this route, at least right now, until there's more clarity about what is to come for our field. So that is a basic overview of my work with Brent. I will say it was necessary for me. Again, brand new to weatherization and workforce development. And so having Brent to talk things out with and guide me in different directions was crucial to my success in my work. And I do plan to pursue these pathways as soon as I get the okay from the people that I work for. So that is me and KHC and our work with Brent.
Well, thank you so much, Ellery. And yeah, it was a pleasure working with you. And then, yeah, hopefully once things calm down a little bit, maybe we'll eventually get a Vista up there for you. But again, thank you for explaining that about how our work, this kind of played out in real world. And yeah, again, as Ellery described, it didn't make sense for them to pursue a full grant application. So starting with these relationships and talent pipeline and a single member hosting was a good way to think about it as progressively kind of thinking about service year partnerships. So thank you, Ellery.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so next up, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pass it over to Pagan to share her screen, because what she will be doing is talking about this brand new tool that is also another thing that is going to make your lives easier to identify those service year programs in your area, and then also get a little bit of one-on-one assistance on navigating some of those partnership conversations that you might be interested in pursuing. So with that, Pagan, are you able to share your screen?
I am. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to see all of the folks that I do know their names on this call, and lots of new folks as well. So I'm Pagan Pagioni. I am the Senior Director of Strategic Workforce Engagement at IREC. I've been leading our workforce development project focused on supporting the Weatherization Assistance Program network. And that is our Green Workforce Connect initiative designed to connect a new generation of folks to opportunities for employment and contracting in the Weatherization Assistance Program. This project has been around for 2 years now, and has seen us launch a whole suite of workforce development resources for WAP agencies, supports and tools for job seekers and for contractors. And all of this came about because of the extensive listening sessions and engagement that I think many of you have participated in during the development of this work. So trying to address the challenges that we uncovered in that work directly with the Weatherization Assistance Program network, and really it's no different in any other space in the clean energy or energy efficiency sector. From my perspective, job seekers do not know about the opportunities that are available. Workforce development resources and the workforce development ecosystem can be really fragmented at times. Employers, WAP subgrantees need help connecting to new audiences and reaching potential employees. And contractors don't know how to connect to program opportunities. So Green Workforce Connect, we hope, is the solution. It is kind of IREC's overall workforce development strategic initiative. All of our workforce development focused projects and programs are under the Green Workforce umbrella, really trying to connect job seekers and students to career exploration, information about job roles, pathways. We want employers to be able to access resources in the resource hub, and we want contractors to be able to connect to opportunities there. The new exciting page and tool that we want to share today is the Talent Pipelines for Employers page. This is really highlighting, again, all of the great things that Brent has been talking about. Highlighting the participants and alumni from these programs that really do make excellent candidates for career pathways and opportunities in weatherization and energy efficiency, and also in other clean energy sectors. So I will show you, I'm going to go to Green Workforce Connect. There's massive site updates happening right now, so we may encounter a couple of glitches. Like that font is really small. Right from the homepage, if you're not familiar with Green Workforce Connect, lots of different pathways for folks to explore. I want to show you this opportunities section where we have information for job seekers about careers in building performance. We have information for contractors about their opportunities and clean energy apprenticeships. That's another IREC project Brent talked about before, the ACE network. And then talent pipelines for employers gives the opportunity for employers to connect directly to service year program participants and alumni. So we've got a couple of stories of folks similar to our weatherization career stories. If you haven't seen those are all available on the career stories page. There's 12 stories there featuring video of folks that are working in weatherization right now. So Daniel and Angel shared their workforce development pathways with us. They are examples of the types of candidates that you will find in service year programs all across the country. It's a great video showcasing service year programming in solar from partners at Grid Alternatives. And then we have this new Get in Touch tool for employers to use to tell us about the industry that they're hiring in, the types of positions where they're recruiting, so whether that's skilled trades or sales, client management, lots of different opportunities to connect to folks. We need more than just the installers in this space. Indicate the region where they're hiring, and then all of these requests will be connected on the back end by Brent, actually, to program opportunities in their area. So really excited to provide a direct way for employers to connect with these incredible candidates. I've had the opportunity to learn more about these programs in a project that we were doing with Brent, Green Employer Learning Cohort. A couple of other quick updates. Our Connect Now map has been significantly updated, and I'm just going to show you all when I filter for Weatherization Assistance Program. 168 WAP agencies and training partners and network partners are now listed in Green Workforce Connect. We have 10 spotlight pages, and more spotlight pages are coming. If you are a grantee on the call and would like to connect around creating a state spotlight page, please let me know. And for subgrantees on this call, if your state isn't here, please connect with your grantee. We're really trying to showcase all of the amazing opportunities to connect to the Weatherization Assistance Program across the country. In our resource hub, you will find all Weatherization Assistance Program resources under this by filtering Weatherization Assistance Program. Note this is one of the places where it's a little glitchy right now because we're updating things. But lots of great workforce development resources here. And other new resources I want to quickly highlight are our new Spanish business toolkit resources for contractors. And I think I am going to stop sharing there and pass it back to Brent.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Thanks for all the great work you're doing with Green Workforce Connect. And yeah, it's fantastic to have now like a way that weatherization assistance programs can directly connect to me so I can help them like connect with those local programs. So super exciting. And like, yeah, just like Megan said, like I think those videos and those core member stories that are part of the page do a really good job of further painting like what that like service year experience kind of looks like for these young people. So it would be a good follow-up thing to visit that site if you're interested in learning more.
I think the beautiful thing about this way to connect to that talent is all of these service year programs provide that transitional support to their participants that are moving into the workforce. At least that's my understanding from all the programs that we've talked to, is they really care about where people are going. So it's a really great opportunity to build those relationships and partnerships.
Definitely.
Brent, I
Well, I think-
believe Brent, I believe we've got a question here that
Yeah.
is worth exploring a little bit. Can the state association get a grant to bring on WAP specialists through AmeriCorps? And you touched on that a little bit, but you might highlight that again.
Yeah, so if you are a nonprofit organization, state or local government, you would qualify to pursue an AmeriCorps grant. So yes, you could apply for an AmeriCorps grant to host. If you're applying for a full grant, you're probably going to want to bring on at least 10 AmeriCorps members. So that's something to think about. So there's like a kind of like a minimal effort there. The one thing that you'll want to be clear about is these AmeriCorps grants cannot be used to displace current or staff roles that you would traditionally be hiring for. So these AmeriCorps members would have to be used in a distinct way to be adding additional capacity or enhancing your programming. So you couldn't just like turn your, weatherization techs into an AmeriCorps position, but you could be bringing on additional young people into your agencies to be like assisting those techs or assisting your client navigators and things like that. Hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, like I always, if you're an association, like a state association, the best, like where I think it would work best is to the state association bring on a full AmeriCorps grant where you could divvy out those AmeriCorps members to agencies across the state. So there's only one entity doing kind of like the paperwork grant management piece, where everybody else just gets to take advantage of the actual AmeriCorps members.
That's a good point that you bring up, Brent, about not supplanting. You can't supplant existing FTEs that are out there, but that's also a good avenue. A state association could then serve as a coordinator to divvy out those FTEs out across agencies where and when they're needed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would work really well.
Right. Have another question. What are the forms of compensation or benefits that are offered? And does that come from the host agency, or does the funding come from the member placement or with the member placement?
Yeah, so this is going to be an overly complicated answer, so I'll try to keep it as black and white as possible, I guess. So it all depends on like what AmeriCorps or service year program your entity is engaging with, right? And so let me give you a few examples of how it can work, and it's a variety of different ways. So in that scenario that I just described about actually applying for a AmeriCorps grant, there's a lot of flexibility for if your agency is the one that's actually applying for that grant. You would get X number of dollars per AmeriCorps member that you bring on, but then it's up to your agency to actually set about how much more investment that you would want to bring into that program. So for example, you could have a scenario where each of those local agencies that you're working with is providing a cost share. So you would provide those core members with a stipend that you think would be effective for those local regions or state. And so what that typically looks like is we recommend that most programs pay an equivalent of around $15 an hour for core members, but it can look like everything from like $8 or $9 an hour to like some programs are paying like, I don't know, I think I want to say like $29 an hour. So it can kind of be all over the place there. But in that scenario, if you're pursuing a grant, that would all run through your payroll. Now, in that situation that Ellery described with bringing on a Vista, that works very differently. So those Vistas are actually paid directly by the federal government. And so that would not run through any of your payroll. And they are all receiving a standardized rate that's set by that federal agency. I forgot what it currently is. It's not a high dollar amount, but I want to say that's around like $11 or $12 an hour equivalency. So that's something that you can, obviously you can see that there's pros and cons depending on what program you're pursuing. With that NCCC branch, again, that's free. So you can request an entire team to be with you for a limited time, like a few weeks. And the only thing that you need to think about there is providing them with somewhere to like room and board type of thing. And that can look a lot of different ways. And then providing them with like project support while they're there and guidance, things like that. So hopefully that wasn't too complicated. It's not a black and white answer, but that's how it generally looks.
It's a multifaceted question there, but great job of answering that. We have another. Frederick posed the question about QCI and EA certification, and will grants pay for that? So let's take that question in a broader context, perhaps. Any certifications or advanced certifications there?
Yeah, so again, there's a lot of flexibility about how you can use those AmeriCorps grants if you were to pursue that. So it's really up to your organization to say, I want to put X amount of money into bringing on a full staff person to manage this program, or I want to put X amount of dollars into the living allowance section of my budget, or I want to put X amount of dollars into the training and certification for my core members. So you are kind of at the discretion of using those AmeriCorps grant funds as you see fit. But there's like all these like fun calculations you got to work through and like limitations. So bottom line, the answer is yes, the money can be used to fund certifications. You do have to be cautious about like what is realistic within a 10 to 12 month year of service, right? So that's why a lot of times we've seen our program focus on like the building science principles, where like it's more of that foundational work, where then maybe once you hire them as full-time staff, maybe they get into the higher level certifications. So it's all just kind of like a nuance to work through, but bottom line is, yeah, you can use it to support credentialing and things like that.
As we near the top of the hour, we want to give everybody ample opportunity to pose those questions in the chat. And while we've got Brent, Pagan, and Ellery here to answer those, if anybody has that, the questions and you're formulating them, now's the time to get them in the chat. While we're doing that, I want to draw attention to the screen in front of you and those QR codes to subscribe to the NCAP Weatherization e-News Plus, which is our newsletter that comes out regularly, as well as following NCAP Energy there on that right QR code for up-to-date information from NCAP on the broader sense, but the energy team specifically. So please feel free to continue to put that in the chat. Again, as we wrap up, you can see that we have all three panelists' emails that are there. I don't actually, Ellery's is not there, but Ellery, if you drop your email in the chat real quick here, we'd be appreciative of that. She's going to do that. And we want to thank you for taking part of your busy day today to hear some good information on weatherization workforce options and the exciting landscape or ecosystem that Brent mentioned of service year. So with that being said, any going once, twice, three times for the any last questions in the chat? If not, we thank you again for your time and your busy schedule. We hope this has been beneficial, On behalf of the NCAP Energy team, I want to thank my co-members and our panelists, and also Keisha Johnson for managing and manning the chat this afternoon. We hope you have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks, Pagan and Ellery.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you all.